We have about a 15-minute break or so, so I'm excited to have this opportunity to do a virtual Q&A with you all around the Post-Secondary Success for Parents initiative. For those who are able to join us this morning and those who are not, I'm David Kroom. I'm Associate Director for the Post-Secondary Success for Parents initiative at Ascend. And I'm pleased to lead this really amazing initiative. I've been at Ascend now for almost 5 years, focused on post-secondary students with dependent children, our students who are parents. I want to spend just a little bit of time with you all today to tell you more about the PSP initiative. See if you have any follow-up questions from the great panel that we had earlier, featuring Chastity Lord from Jeremiah Program, Daria Willis, a SEND Fellow and President of Howard Community College, Jessica Pelton, who's a SEND Parent Advisor and alumna from the University of Michigan, and also Dr. Nasser Paydar, who's the Assistant Secretary for Post-Secondary at the U.S. Department of Education. And I should say Dr. Daria Willis as well as Dr. Lord. If you have any follow-up questions, or also if you have any questions for me now, just put those in Slido. So I'm going to spend just about 5 minutes or so telling and sharing a little bit more with you about the PSP initiative, but I would love for you to for this to be interactive. So please throw any questions or comments that you have about the panel or any work that I'm sharing regarding to post-secondary and Slido, and we'll be sure to answer those in a few minutes. I wanted to share a little bit at the high level, though, around the work of the PSP initiative. Our work here at Ascend is focused not just, so one, as Marjorie shared earlier, post-secondary is one of our core components, one of our 6 core components to 2Gen initiative and the work that we do here at Ascend. We believe that student parents or families should have access to high quality post-secondary pathways, as well as employment that will lead to, that will be able to assist with giving them family wages. And so that's something that's really important for us in our work. We believe that our post-secondary pathways work is not just focused on those in baccalaureate pathways, so associates and bachelors, but we also care deeply around workforce and vocational pathways as well. So that's something that's part of our work. The PSP initiative focuses on several key stakeholders, some of which are the focus of Ascend, or many of all of which are focus of Ascend, philanthropy and funders, college and workforce providers and practitioners giving access to parents for high quality credentials, community-based organizations that are doing amazing work of providing wraparound supports to student parents so they can stay fully enrolled in their post-secondary pathway. And of course, as you can see from our forum, having the student parent perspective is really key to our work, not just within the PSP initiative, but broader for Ascend. Our work is really about how to post-secondary and the systems that surround post-secondary to be more student parent focused, and I should say student parent success focused, right? So we're looking for opportunities to support our parents to actually getting those high quality degrees and credentials so they can actually be able to support their families. The way that we do so through the PSP initiative is through a few different opportunities and communities. We just actually, and we'll share this virtually, but we've been sharing in-person copies here, just released our Leadership Circle Playbook. So we have been working with an assortment of colleges, mostly colleges, for a few years to understand how they are supporting student parents to help them support and expand their supports for student parents. And so we provided robust TA throughout 2020 and 2021. And I should say that it was, because of the pandemic, more self-directed, but we were able to really work with these colleges to start to initiate and build supports for student parents within their institutions. And there were a lot of great learnings that came out of either campuses that were brand new to this space and establishing supports for student parents, or those who were more in the middle and trying to like really codify and implement their solutions. And so we did a series of, throughout this TA that would happen over 2 years. Afterwards, we did a series of interviews and learnings and reviewing documentation, and really have compiled this amazing resource that has 5 promising practices that we believe that institutions and other providers of higher education and credentials can take to support student parents within their sort of pathways. And so really excited for that resource to be live now, and please take a look at it and share it widely, and hopefully you'll see it not just as advantageous and useful for colleges, but also for your work as well. We also have been working not just in the practice lane, but also in policy and systems change. We worked with 6 public entities, 5 states, and 1 city through our policy acceleration partnerships. And we worked with those sites that were recently completed after 2 years to really think about how to reform benefits access programs to be supportive of student parent success again. So thinking about how childcare subsidies, for example, are actually promoting student parents or even allowing for post-secondary education to be part of the activity requirement, for example, that these states have. So excited to see work across the country, really think about how to reform childcare subsidies, state financial aid programs, and other human services and post-secondary and food, I would say insecurity focused work as well, to be really focused around how to promote student parents and those families to get access to these high quality credentials. And we'll be releasing some information around that toward the end of April. I would also say that we have been doing not just work focused on policy and practice, but thinking about how to share the narratives of student parents. So you might have heard earlier, but we have the 1 in 5 podcast, which has some really powerful narratives and stories around student parent success. And those who are still dealing with student parent, still acutely in their student parent pathway, and those who have finished, and those maybe who have stopped out and haven't gone back, and sharing more about those barriers of the work. And then that's kind of like a little bit of a high level around sort of what we've been up to. There's so much more to share, but I want to make sure to have a chance to answer any questions. I also want to make sure to underscore the name of the report that I mentioned. It's called the Post-Secondary Leadership Circle Playbook, and we will be sharing information around it as part of a follow-up to the forum. So it's live on our website, but we definitely will make sure to share that resource as well. So I have some great questions. So the first question that I will answer is from Dr. Ariel Sylvester. So what has Ascend done to help student parents with affordable childcare? My research has been focused on this for single mother college students who use C Campus. So C Campus, as was mentioned earlier, is a federal grant program that provides subsidies to colleges to provide seats for childcare for student parents. And so really powerful program that we've seen right now is funded at 75 million and will be hopefully funded at 95 million in future. So I would say that the really great part about the work that we do here at Ascend is because the way that we think about student parents is in a really holistic way, really thinking about all the wraparound supports that student parents need, involving and recognizing that student parents are experiencing food and housing insecurity at higher rates, that they experience this concept of time poverty, that they have less time to dedicate to studying academic pursuits as compared to non-parents, and then also many of them have really unaffordable childcare. And we know from research done at the Institute for Women's Policy Research that childcare costs exceeds the cost of public tuition in majority, if not all states. And so childcare is really a part of our entire sort of worldview. Again, thinking about in policy spaces, how we're working with states to reform childcare subsidies, thinking about in practice spaces, how we're talking to colleges around how they're collecting data around parenting students to know and recognize how many parenting students need access to childcare, and to survey and do focus groups with those students to understand what sort of childcare that they want, right? Because on-campus childcare may not be the salvo that folks want. They might want to have access to vouchers to access affordable childcare closer to where they live or where they work as compared to their school. So thinking about all the ways that we're engaging with different stakeholders across the space and ensuring that they're bringing in student parent voice to understand how they can be providing more subsidy or more support to student parents needing high quality and affordable childcare. So I think that's it in terms of what I'd like to share. Last thing I'll say is that we had some really great themes that came from the panel around faculty engagement, student parents as advocates, which is really powerful, family-friendly campuses, seeing that as a really powerful lens. And so we want to make sure that we're continuing to engage and fortify campuses to be family-friendly. But I also wanted to just say too that the focus is not just on practitioners. We really want college policy and systems change to be a through point of this, right? That scale matters in this work as it does with all the work, and that colleges and student parents need to be supported through resources and subsidy to do this work well. Another question that came in through from Karen Hilker-Balkasoon over at GMU at George Mason. How can we connect other regional network partners if we seek to establish new partnerships? Can we work through the PSP team to initiate discussions? Yes, I'm so happy to be a resource here. If you're doing really robust student parent work in your community and regions and you would like to be connected to others, that's what we do here at Ascend. Our work is national in scope, and the same for the PSP initiative. And I would say that there has been really powerful work happening all across the country, here regionally in the DMV area, but also in California and Georgia and Minnesota, Pennsylvania and Colorado, and so many more. So I would say that if there's interest in being connected to regional partners doing work focused on student parents, please see me as a resource. And I would ask that my colleagues, if they can, to I don't know, share some contact information if possible in Slido. That way, folks can be in contact with me if able. Okay, and let's see. I have a few more elements. Let me just pull up my information. Okay, awesome. So I think that okay, great. So a question that I love is what has resulted from engaging parents as advisors in your work? So I would say that our parent advisors are, I mean, I guess I'm not supposed to have any favorites, but they're kind of my favorite part of my job. I really am someone who's passionate about student engagement and parent engagement, has been working in this space for the last decade. I will say that our parents, we see them as a resource in so many different ways. One, we try to get their feedback on all the elements that we've done. So getting their feedback on some of the briefs and documents that we're re-releasing around the student parent sector, having them present in our convenings. They are a strong sort of source of expertise that we want to make sure that we always start our convenings with their perspective, similar to how we did today or yesterday with the forum. So they just add an important through point in their and knowledge to our space, but also they act as really powerful external sort of arbiters of this work, right? I remember a few years ago when Achieving the Dream held its first ever student parent summit that they kicked it off with 3 of our parent advisors in conversation around their perspective. I know last year or 2 years ago, maybe ACCT, the Association of Community College Trustees, had one of our parent advisors act as a closing plenary for their legislative work. So really ensuring that student parents are not just seen as experts within our spaces and our realms, but also publicly. Also, one example I will just share is that and I think Anne mentioned this yesterday, is that we've engaged with our parents through the use of RFPs and other opportunities like the Parent Power Solutions Fund. So for example, we actually had our PSP parent advisors build a request for proposals and look for organizations to actually fund to build similar student parent models, either be advisory models or other ways to imbue student parent voice within their work. And so we're actually going to be doing, I guess it's a preview of sorts. We'll be launching a second round of our Parent Power Solutions Fund this summer. And again, this current cohort of parent advisors are building that RFP, and we'll be selecting the recipients of those resources. And so again, not just looking at the lens here within Ascend and student parent voice, but how can we foster the inclusion of student parent voice across the sector. And then we have another question. What new research and data do you think should be focused on as it relates to student parents? What should we find and what do we need to know that's not known? That's a great question. I would say that and there has been some really great work that's been done in this space, but there's even more to be done, I think, around basic needs and security. So how student parents are experiencing food and housing insecurity, and also I think importantly, seeing childcare as being an essential and basic need as well, I think is really important. Not all entities are quite there yet with the childcare piece, but I would say we here see childcare as being an essential part of a student parent's ability to be successful. So I think additional support there would be important. But I should also say too that there are not nearly enough colleges in enough states who are capturing data around parenting status. We now, as far as I know, have two states, really, Illinois and Oregon, that statutorily have requirements to capture parenting data. I know Michigan had a one-time cycle as part of their appropriations to capture student parent data. But we need more states actually understanding how many student parents they have and actually tracking their outcomes and seeing how they are different and distinct from other populations. But we also need more colleges too. Of the thousands of colleges that are in this country, we need more colleges capturing parenting status and not just capturing it alone, but actually looking at it over momentum statistics like resilient, or sorry, like persistence and completion. So actually seeing and tracking how those student parents are doing within their models, I think will be really important. So I think additional data, I would like to see more on basic needs and security. There has been some research done, but there needs to be more research done around childcare's impact on student parent completion. And I know that others have tried to do this research, but it's been a bit challenging to get the data. So those are just a few different opportunities. And then I would say one more, last one is around fatherhood. So that's something that I would love to see more attention to be done on. And we're actually going to be releasing a small brief focus on data around student fathers because there's so much more to be shared within that space. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to now wrap up and just say thank you again for this opportunity to share more about our work. We are going to move into finishing our break here, and then we are going to, well, yeah, we're going to go to our next panel, focus on radical collaboration. So thank you, everybody.